ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has called for a speedy turnaround time regarding policy adoptions. He addressed delegates at the resumption of the party's 55th National Conference. The ANC was forced to postpone its December program due to several delays. We take you to Mangaung now, where we find Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles with a debrief of what we heard as he opened that conference. Good afternoon, Govan.
Good afternoon, Dudu. Well, yes, quite a strange situation that happened where the President addressed the resumption of the 55th National Conference in hybrid format, while members of the media kept in a media section, not able to watch that address live, followed it with the rest of South Africa via the link that's being distributed. That's significant because the ANC says this time they're conducting this hybrid meeting using their own access to a satellite, saying that they're off the grid, that they're unhackable. That's how they're doing this hybrid conference in phase 2, and that they'll be able to provide streaming of the conference using their own technology, demonstrating their capacity. The President, in his address reopening the 55th conference, focusing on the need for the ANC to make good decisions about how it wants to run the country. There's a really big focus on its policy here. Of course, they'll be talking politics and their strategy and tactics, and talking about organizational renewal as well. That's at the core of the presidency by Cyril Ramaphosa. It's what he's been trying to lead since he took the presidency in the 2017 Newzroom conference in that election. But they'll also be talking about how they can govern better, and that includes how the departments are operating, also what they should do in terms of changes. And the presidency says that in this respect they need to have a greater focus on their policies and look at which policies should be refined, and if they are to be refined, what kind of refining is necessary. It was a reopening speech, so we're short on specifics when it comes to the detail of what exactly they want to change about their policy. We know that they're going to sharpen their position on global conflicts and take a stronger stance with regards to the Russia and Ukraine war. But as for what they're planning to do at home, particularly around energy, those decisions haven't been made just yet. And we expect them to take a view on whether or not they want Eskom to be transferred to the energy department under the leadership of the national chairperson of the ANC, Govan, but also what they would like to happen with regards to the IPP program and the manner in which renewables are able to supplement Eskom's shortfall and what appears to be its chronic trips that have led to load shedding in more frequent measure in the recent past. Let's take a listen to what the President had to say about the policies, and we'll discuss some of the decisions as well.
While recognizing the great progress that we have made in several areas of development and transformation, delegates acknowledge that the severe challenges that still need to be addressed need the ANC's attention so that we can achieve a better life for all South Africans. Through the deliberations in commissions, delegates made it clear that we need to proceed with greater urgency, but also with greater purpose to address the challenges that confront our people. Where our policies remain relevant and appropriate, we need to be more focused in ensuring their effective and full implementation.
That's really just an overview by President Cyril Ramaphosa reopening the ANC's 55th conference in hybrid format. Coming to you live from the Mbali Safari Lodge, just on the outskirts of Bloemfontein. We're in the Mangaung municipality. This municipality is under national administration. The provincial administration failed to get it back up and running. And the way that the ANC has been running its cities will come under sharp focus later in the day. They're expected to continue discussing the state of their governance in South Africa and what they want to tweak about that kind of governance style and what they want to change in terms of exactly what kind of policies they're implementing when it comes to running local government, but also when it comes to running some of the SOEs, which include Transnet as well as the NEL. And we should be able to get a clearer focus or clearer answer from the ANC on their position towards state-owned enterprises going into the second term of the president. And of course, this is something that we understood to the ANC to have been divided on in the first term, but right now we're expecting them to discuss it more in depth and come out with a clearer answer. Let's listen to the president again talking about what kind of decisions he believes should be made at this final leg of the 55th conference.
The decisions that we take today will have far-reaching impact on our movement, the African National Congress, and indeed on the country as well. In many ways, they will determine whether our movement is able to overcome the many challenges that confront our own movement and the people of our country. These decisions will also determine whether we are able to reverse the organizational and electoral decline that we identified when we met in December, and whether we will emerge stronger, more united, and more effective in meeting the needs of the people of our country.
That's the president of the ANC talking about the kind of decisions that he believes should be made, or exactly how those decisions should be made. That's really about the nuts and bolts of governing South Africa, and the ANC putting its focus into its governance plan for South Africa. But really hovering in the background is the expected reshuffle of the cabinet and the fate of the deputy president, David Mabuza, and the expectation is that he would be replaced by Paul Mashatile, the new deputy president of South Africa. And we finally have some insight into how far along the conversations with the president, between the president and the ANC are. And we got that from the Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, who's revealed that they haven't discussed the reshuffle, but the president has, according to the Secretary General, started to apply his mind about the replacement of the deputy president. It does look like David Mabuza will be replaced by Paul Mashatile, and the expectation has now been created that that will happen at least within the next 2 weeks. So let's listen to Fikile Mbalula. He's the Secretary General of the ANC, and he was responding to a question about whether or not the reshuffle of the president, or the reshuffle of the deputy president by the president is going to happen.
Govan, Whittles will find that bite a little bit later on and bring it for our viewers. So that is the hub, right, as this conference is taking place across 9 provinces, and it's a hybrid model. Let's see what's happening in Gauteng, where Mbali Thethani is. So officials of the ANC in Mbali essentially saying the plan is foolproof, anticipating no hacking. What are officials there telling you?
Well, that's certainly right, Dudu. Of course, we have seen the resumption of the 55th National Conference of the ANC, and I'm in Boksburg at the moment at one of the hubs. I must say that when you look around, it is a hall full of more than 400 delegates from Gauteng who are indeed attending this conference, and they're attending this conference virtually while, the leaders of the ANC are in Mangaung. But let's just speak to the ANC's provincial secretary. His name is Thembinkosi TK Nziza. The ANC starting something new, making this conference resume virtually, something that we have not seen in the past. And I must say, just looking at it, it seems as if you're keeping up to speed with technology in the country.
Good afternoon to your viewers and to yourself. I think when it was presented, it was a shock in the system, but I can safely say it's one of the best and well-attended conferences. And I think if you look just at how the decorum of the conference, how comrades are paying attention to the whole conference, I think it will come up with very strong resolutions. And I think it's something that we should look forward to in the future, because before, people were scared. There's always a worry when there's something new that must happen. And I think let's give props to the SGO led by Comrade Mbali for coming with such a good concept for us to be able to finish our conference.
Very important for the resumption of this conference is the issue around the policies and those policies that need to be adopted. Started off firstly at the policy conference, which we saw last year, and ultimately at this conference as Gauteng. What are the policies that you want this conference to ultimately come up with that will then translate to the rest of the country?
I think there are a number of issues that we're looking at as Gauteng. Firstly is to go back to the previous policies that we could not implement as the ANC for a number of reasons, whether it's the COVID or any other issue that was stumbling block. The issue of the Reserve Bank is still top of our agenda, including the state banks in different provinces, purely because we need to intervene to many of our black young professionals who can't get funding from a number of institutions. So we need to really intervene. Number of upcoming young professionals, can't afford to buy houses. They still stay in apartments that they're renting and so forth and so on. That's one area of concern that we have as Gauteng. The issue of energy is on top of our agenda. You can't speak about economic growth when you have not spoken about this issue of the energy. And I think if there's one area that we are focusing our energies on, because it will also speak to unemployment, because we are getting a serious problem of unemployment in Gauteng, especially taking into consideration the migration that we find ourselves, especially this time of the year. So we need to really fix in the next few months the issue of this energy. So ESCOM becomes critical for us. That's why we constantly engage with the president of the country, that in ESCOM we need to find people who are capable of dealing with the issue of ESCOM. And really, where we are, the rate time, them they would have failed us. Want a person, and we're happy that we would have resigned. We want a person that will come, who's capable. And of course, for us, privatization of any ESCOM and many of our state institutions, we really don't believe in that. So we believe ESCOM must be kept as it is, but of course we must be capacitated so that we are able to deal with this issue of ESCOM. The issue of coal, we don't believe that we must get rid of coal, because it means we're going to leave people of Mpumalanga jobless, and it will create chaos for us again in Gauteng. So there are a number of issues that really we believe in, but crime, safety, peace and stability for us is another issue which is at the center of this conference, because really crime in our provinces is on another level. Illegal immigrants is another issue. I mean, we're speaking about illegal immigrants here who come and look at the issue of Zamazamas, how you go to Carltonville, a no-go area where people are living in fear, in Benoni, and many other areas, going to Springs and so forth. We need to deal with those things. We need to deal with crime. We need to deal with issues of GBV and so forth. So it's a conference that we believe for us in Gauteng must deal with 4 areas. The issue of crime, the issue of energy, the issue of organizational renewal, and most of all, the issue of unemployment of young people in the country.
Coming out of the conference in December, a number of people were saying that when you look at the top 7, Gauteng was the biggest winner in this conference. What do you make of the newly elected top 7 structure? But at the same time, what do you also make of the 80 NEC members who now form part of the NEC?
First of all, I honestly don't subscribe in regionalism. And any person who promotes that in today's ANC really does not even understand why the ANC was formed. At some point, you'll have a president, the secretary general, and many leaders of the ANC tamed as coming from the Eastern Cape, but most of them are residing in Gauteng. So really, if you look at Gauteng, that's where most of the people find themselves in, especially when they're established and they're in leadership, for a number of reasons. Because when you're in Gauteng, you're able to move with speed, and that's where, whether it's parliament or even TNAs and many people or leaders, they stay here. So for me, it's branches of the ANC across all regions, 52 regions, and many branches of the ANC who decided on this leadership. But most of all, what I like most about this conference, it rejected slates once again. And it's something that we continuously spoke to in Gauteng, that the issue of slates is coming to an end, and branches are expressing themselves and delegates. They are looking for capable leaders, and it doesn't mean when you did not imagine a conference, you're not a capable leader. From time to time, and time and space will always present different leaders for us. If you look at the leadership, the 80 young leaders that are elected, you would see that most of them are it's members of the Youth League. It's those who will bring energy. It's those who will fight counter-revolutionary tendencies. It's those who will make sure that they put the agenda for our people at the center of the ANC and make sure that the policies of the ANC, they are implemented. We're excited about it, and we just hope that there will be a balance between taking many of them to cabinet and allowing the organization to operate. Because sometimes when comrades are in cabinet, they find themselves in a compromised situation and they can't even deal with certain critical matters that are affecting the movement. But from where we are, we're happy with the 80 members. It's a well balanced, and if you look at it, you know, even the age, you know, it's young and old. It's not only one generation. So we're very comfortable. We've got experience, we've got energy, and we believe that these 80 members of the ANC will take the African National Congress forward in the next 5 years.
All right. And just lastly, what else can we expect in terms of the deliberations that are taking place? I know that you're still busy with the report backs for the commissions. What else is on your agenda? I know that we have been told that this conference may even run to the early hours of this morning. I
think the organizational renewal is where the discussion is going to be strong as well, and amendments. Because amendments, for you to pass amendments, you must have 75% of conference, and I don't know if we're there. That's number one. But I think many of comrades have attended the conference. But the second part on organizational renewal, even how the branch must be constituted of the ANC, the submissions of Gauteng are very clear. This thing of just having 100 people and the branch which is not functioning, people who are not seized with the issues that the communities want to see them dealing with, you know, you find yourself having a leader that you've never met or seen in your own community because you know. So we want community leaders to lead our branches. So those who are members of the ANC must be able to be part of different sectors in their own communities so that we understand what are the issues of our people. So a functioning or a branch in good standing must make sense. It must not be a branch in good standing for numbers and electing a leadership in a branch in a region or rather in a province. It must be a branch in good standing because it is servicing the people of that particular area. It is that type of an ANC we believe when we speak about renewal and we're talking to.
Thank you very much. That is TK Ngqiza. He is the secretary in Gauteng. Also, they're touching on a number of issues that they want to see this policy ultimately, or this conference rather, ultimately adopt in terms of the policies of the ANC. Speaking out there a lot about the issues around the energy crisis that continues to face this country, and we do find ourselves in the country's economic hub, which is Gauteng, and quite in particular looking at the likes of the city of Johannesburg, talking at issues of unemployment, high unemployment rates that also needs to be resolved. So we know that there is a number of deliberations which are still expected to take place, also outlining there when it comes to organizational renewal and in terms of the community members that the ANC chooses, and also wanting a renewal of the branches, saying that they need to reflect society, and even the community needs to know who their leaders are. So quite robust engagements for now taking place here, but but quite in particular looking at the issues around branches, because when it comes to branches, they ultimately affect local government. And we've seen a number of protests and service delivery marches throughout the country where it is the local government issues that communities continue to bring to the fore.
That's what's happening in Mangaung and Gauteng as the ANC wraps up its business of the 55th National Conference. And of course, we are anticipating that on Sunday, the party will be celebrating its 111th birthday. Mbali Thethani, thank you very much for that update.